November is a pretty intense month. It is a lot of writing, a lot of pressure, a lot of goals, adjusting and setting and trying to fit in a lot. And I want to tell you what I've learned and how I've sorted it out and what's next.
It's the 28th of November and I'm currently just over 43,000 words. Regardless of whether or not I win NaNoWriMo this year, I will not finish this book. I am just somewhere in the mid-build and I'm hoping to finish the mid-build by the end of November and hit that 50K mark. But there are no guarantees. Stick to the end of the video if you want to see whether or not I do it. But this video isn't about winning NaNoWriMo or finishing a novel. It's about what to do when NaNoWriMo is over.
Number one thing, I suppose, that one must do at the end of NaNoWriMo is reassess and decide exactly what we want to take into the months that follow and the rest of the year. Which reminds me of a fantastic quote from Dickens, which is, "Keep the spirit of Christmas alive and keep it all the year." As I write like Charles Dickens this month. If you're from the future, again, I'll put that link up there. The first thing I learned during Nano was how much I can accomplish in a day just by making a list at the beginning of the day. I've also realized that while I can write 50,000 words in a month, I cannot write a full novel. The 50,000 words just wasn't adequate to tell the story that I want to tell. And so I'm not going to be done. I'm not done at the end of November. I need to keep going and wait to the end of this video to see how far I got and whether I did succeed in actually finishing the mid-build and how much I have left in December. Meredith Phillips actually asked this question, what your habits were. Do you have any crazy habits? I'd love to hear them. Leave them in the comments below. One of my crazy habits is I've always got very warm feet. So I have written bits and pieces of the story that are not fit into the story anywhere. Little scenes, little nuggets, little bits of conversation that are just stuck on the end of my document that I don't know where they fit.
The thing Nano Ending gave me was an opportunity to sit back and reconsider my characters and what they want and fill in my character chart, which I had started before in Preptober, but now I was able to fill it in knowing my characters better. And you can grab this chart in my Patreon account if you'd like to look at your characters in the same way.
But the editing process for this novel, once it's technically finished, will be very involved. And it's not going to be done by the end of the year. Nor should it be. There was no need for this novel to be finished and ready for an editor at the end of this year. In fact, once I have written the last few words, I will set it aside for at least a month because I learned in October that coming off a first draft and going straight into the second is not good for me. It doesn't work. And my ghost story needs editing and the editor is waiting on it. So I need to also make that a priority as well as scheduling out my videos coming up. So what does that mean? What happens after Nano's over? Well, if you're like me, you have a newfound love of writing every day and you want it to keep going. You're not ready for Nano to end. And I certainly am not. I know I can write every day and I want to keep going. Even if I can only write 20 words, that's fine. I'll write 20 words if that's all I can do. Why not? Why not? But I also know that I can write a 5K day, and I don't know that I knew that before. And I'm very happy to have learned that about myself. I also know I can write a 5K day and do other things, like be with my family and watch television and record videos for YouTube and do other work that aside from writing. I know that I can accomplish a great deal in a day if I just look at my day and plan it out and I don't get too distracted by the research rabbit hole, which is my downfall. And forcing myself to put aside the urge to research something has been key. Not just in succeeding at Nano, but in everything I do. I have such a thirst for the answer to a question, and with Google well at hand. I do that all the time, but then I fall down a rabbit hole and want to know all about it. And that's not good to productivity. So I've learned to tame that, and I've got a great method for that. And if you want to know more about that, check out the video in the link above. My tools and tricks for dealing with writer's block and identifying what is causing it. But truly, the number one thing that I've learned from Nano is just how peace I am with my life as it is, and how happy I am, and how far I've come in 5 years. And maybe my YouTube channel isn't as big as I want it to be. And if you want to help me make it bigger, hit the subscribe button. I'd love that. That'd just make my day. I notice every single time that number goes up. Every single one of you is valuable to me, and I appreciate you. Thank you very much. And hit the like button so other people can see this video as well. Other than the navel gazing and moving ahead with this current draft of this book and finishing it, the next thing is to edit. And I have found an amazing editor on Fiverr, and I love her to bits. I'll actually tag her below if you want to give her some work. She's amazing. She has been my saving grace, and I love her to bits. And she's just been so helpful in me taking my writing to the next level. And I would encourage you, especially if you're self-publishing, but if you're looking to traditional publish as well, not waiting for the publishing company to edit your book or a reader to point out your errors, but actually getting a professional editor to look at it is key. And maybe this Nano project was just for yourself, and that's fine. You don't have to share it with anybody, but if you plan on sharing it, then I would really advise you to have somebody who has a professional eye look at it. And also beta readers would be the step after that. Readers who actually like the genre and actually read that kind of book. I have made the mistake in the past of giving my novels to people who don't like a meta novel and don't like fantasy and don't like YA. And while this current novel is, well, it is still a meta novel, but it is not YA or fantasy, I would be very, very careful to give it to anybody who didn't profess to like romance writing and romance stories, because if they do like them, then they're more likely to like this book. But if that's something that they don't go for, then it doesn't matter how well it's written or how interesting the story is. They're going to be bored, because that's not what gets their juices going, so to speak. Picking an editor and picking one or two beta readers is really key. And I also would recommend only giving your book to one beta reader at a time, because if it's no use getting feedback from one reader and getting the same feedback from another. If something rings true, change it straight away. If not, leave it and see if future readers say the same thing, because you can't just say that one reader is right. The author obviously knows the story the best. But if there is an overarching problem that you have missed that a reader can point out, best to have one reader point it out rather than 7. It's just, it's better for your self-esteem. It's better for your heart and your spirit. And it's, it's a great way to waste a beta reader in having them point out problems that you already know about and could have known about it with just one reader. So I would start with one reader and then branch out from there. For in this video, we've looked at the different things we should do after Nano finishes. One, assess what we liked and didn't like about Nano and what we want to take forward into the coming months and year. 2, finish the novel we're working on. 3, get an editor. 4, get beta readers. And 5, as Hemingway said, never only have 4 points. For number 5, working on the next novel, start here to start all over again and write, because your story needs to be told.
If you're wondering if I did it, if I won NaNoWriMo, the answer is yes, I did. And my 50,000th word was it. Yes, it was. It was it. If you won NaNoWriMo, put your 50,000th word in the comments with no explanation. Let's blow up the internet with some very weird comments, y'all. Congrats!